Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone, to another fascinating episode where we dive deep into the mysterious world of rare coins and unbelievable treasures hiding in plain sight, because today we are going to explore the amazing and mind-blowing story of the 1985 1-cent coin that shocked the world when it was discovered to be worth up to $3 million due to its unique errors, minting mistakes, and extraordinary rarity, a story that continues to fascinate collectors, numismatists, and treasure hunters across the globe who can't believe how something so small could hold so much hidden value. And as we unfold this journey, you'll understand why this humble penny from 1985 turned into one of the most talked about coins in modern American numismatic history, why it's so rare, what kind of errors make it worth such an astronomical amount, and how you might even find one of these gems in your own loose change if luck and sharp observation are on your side, because the 1985 Lincoln cent, though it seems like an ordinary copper-plated zinc coin at first glance, holds a legacy that blends history, chemistry, minting technology, and pure chance into one of the most extraordinary tales of accidental fortune ever told in coin collecting history. So let's take a closer look at how this coin came to be and why experts believe it is one of the most valuable pennies ever struck by the United States Mint. The 1985 1-cent piece was part of the Lincoln Memorial Design Series, which ran from 1959 until 2008, featuring Abraham Lincoln's profile on the obverse and the famous Lincoln Memorial Building on the reverse, struck in massive quantities across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, and while most of these coins were perfectly normal, a tiny handful came out with critical minting flaws so unique that their existence defied mint protocols, with combinations of double dies, off-center strikes, transitional planchets, and other anomalies that slipped past quality control unnoticed and later became the foundation of their immense value. What makes the 1985 penny story so intriguing is that it comes from a time when the mint was still adjusting to the new copper-plated zinc composition introduced in 1982, replacing the older solid bronze cents, and during those years, several mints struggled with planchet bonding, die deterioration, and plating inconsistencies, all of which created conditions ripe for spectacular errors that today command staggering prices. In some cases, the 1985 pennies were accidentally struck on leftover bronze planchets that should have been phased out years earlier, creating a rare transitional error. These coins, heavier than regular zinc cents, exhibit a distinct metallic tone and luster that experts can spot instantly, and since they contain more copper, they're more resistant to corrosion, which helps them stand out even decades later. A few known examples of these bronze 1985 cents have sold at auction for tens of thousands, and when combined with other striking errors such as a double die or a misaligned strike, their estimated worth can skyrocket to millions, as collectors value both rarity and condition in such extraordinary finds. Another type of error that pushed the 1985 penny into legendary status is the double die obverse, where the dies used to strike the coin were improperly aligned during preparation, causing the coin's lettering or Lincoln's image to appear doubled. When viewed under magnification, you can see a ghost-like duplication on Liberty or the date, 1985, and sometimes even on Lincoln's eye or jawline, an unmistakable sign of a true double die error that adds immense collector appeal. Some 1985 pennies also show off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the coin blank wasn't seated correctly in the press during striking, leaving a crescent of unstruck metal at the edge, and depending on the percentage of misalignment, the coin's value can range from a few hundred to several $1,000s. The most extreme cases, those that show both date and design but are heavily off-center, are the ones that can command prices exceeding six figures in mint condition. There are also broad-struck 1985 pennies, which were struck outside the retaining collar, causing them to spread wider than normal and appear flattened around the edges, another rare and visually striking error that fascinates collectors. Then there's the clipped planchet error, where a small portion of the coin's edge is missing because the blank was punched too close to the edge of the metal sheet, resulting in a distinct curved clip that makes the coin look as if a bite was taken out of it. Combined with other mistakes, like die cracks, cuts, or lamination peeling, such features make the coin unique and exponentially more valuable. Some 1985 pennies have also been found with plating bubbles, tiny blisters formed under the thin copper layer due to gas trapped during the plating process, creating unusual patterns and textures that give the coin a one-of-a-kind surface, and collectors always pay a premium for coins that display striking visual errors. Even more intriguing are the 1985 pennies struck with die rotation errors, where the obverse and reverse designs don't align properly, resulting in an off-axis flip when the coin is turned. The more severe the rotation, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes, and examples exceeding 90 degrees can reach astronomical figures at auction. Experts also talk about the mystery of the 1985 Denver minted cents that were struck with faint mint marks or no mint mark at all due to die polishing or clogged dies, which adds yet another layer of collectability. The U.S. Mint produces billions of coins every year, and it's almost inevitable that some errors escape detection, but what makes 1985 particularly fascinating is that it was a transitional period in minting technology where older methods were still being phased out and new automated systems were not yet perfect, creating the perfect storm for rare mistakes to occur. As time passes, fewer and fewer uncirculated 1985 cents remain, and those with verified minting errors are becoming exceedingly scarce, fueling intense bidding wars among collectors and investors alike who view these coins not just as historical artifacts but also as tangible assets with proven appreciation over time. Imagine finding one in your old coin jar or inherited collection, a simple penny that could pay for your dream home. It's stories like these that spark fascination across the coin collecting community. Some of the most valuable 1985 era cents have sold through prestigious auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers, where authenticated examples fetched jaw-dropping prices as collectors competed to own one of the rarest pennies ever known. A pristine 1985 double-die penny with strong doubling on the obverse and flawless red luster once sold for over $40,000, while others with multiple compounded errors have fetched six-figure sums, and experts believe that if an undiscovered specimen displaying a combination of transitional metal composition and major strike error were to surface, it could easily be valued at or above $3 million due to its unmatched rarity. The mystique surrounding this coin is amplified by the fact that it represents a turning point in U.S. coinage history, the move from traditional copper to modern zinc-based cents, a shift that led to unforeseen chemical and physical challenges in minting. The thin copper plating over zinc cores often led to bonding issues, causing bubbles, splits, and peeling, which today are seen as collectible imperfections when found in exceptional form. In some rare cases, the copper layer completely separated, revealing the silvery zinc beneath, creating what collectors call exposed core errors, highly prized for their unusual appearance. Another remarkable variation involves the so-called mirror brockage error, where a coin was struck against another freshly struck coin instead of a blank planchet, leaving an ink-use and mirrored impression of one side onto the other, an ultra-rare phenomenon that can make a 1985 penny worth a fortune. When examining these coins, professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC use advanced microscopy to confirm the authenticity of these features, as counterfeiters have tried to replicate such rare traits, but genuine errors always bear microscopic indicators consistent with minting machinery and pressure dynamics. Over the years, numismatic researchers have documented several fascinating die varieties from 1985, including subtle variations in mintmark positioning, die scratches forming accidental shapes or letters, and weakly struck areas that hint at mechanical wear within the mint's production lines. Some collectors specialize entirely in finding these varieties, cataloging them meticulously, and their discoveries often redefine the market value of the 1985 cent. What makes the hunt for a valuable 1985 penny so exciting is that these coins are still out there, tucked away in drawers, rolls, and jars across America, waiting for someone sharp-eyed enough to recognize what they've got. The idea that a coin minted for just 1 cent. Next 1993 1 cent coin, everyone to another exciting and eye-opening journey into the world of rare and valuable coins, where tiny details can turn ordinary change into unbelievable treasures worth fortunes, and today's story is about one of the most fascinating modern coins ever to come out of the United States Mint, the incredible 1993 Lincoln 1 cent coin that shocked collectors and experts when it was discovered to be worth as much as $2 million because of its astonishing minting errors, mysterious variations, and extraordinary rarity that set it apart from billions of ordinary cents struck in the same year. So sit back and get ready, because this is a story that proves how even a humble penny can carry a tale of chance, history, and immense value hidden within its small copper-plated surface, a story that continues to inspire coin hunters, collectors, and investors all over the world who are always hoping to find the next $1 million mistake hiding in plain Site. The 1993 D penny, struck at the Denver Mint, was part of the long-running Lincoln Memorial series that had already been in production since 1959, and on the surface, it looks like any other penny from the early 1990s, featuring Abraham Lincoln's familiar portrait on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial Building on the reverse. But beneath that simple appearance lies a world of fascinating minting mysteries that makes certain examples of this coin extraordinarily rare and worth unimaginable sums. To understand why the 1993 D1 cent is so valuable, you have to know a bit about what was happening at the U.S. Mint during that era. In 1982, the composition of the cent was changed from mostly copper to a zinc core coated with a thin layer of copper to save on rising metal costs, and while that change seemed simple, it actually introduced a host of technical challenges for the minting process. The zinc-based planchets were softer and more prone to bonding, plating, and striking issues, leading to a range of unique minting errors that fascinated collectors for decades, and the 1993 D pennies, being part of that era, were particularly affected by such issues. Among the most prized errors found on 1993 D pennies are the double die errors, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, cuds, die clashes, and even extremely rare transitional planchet errors where a coin might have been struck on an incorrect metal blank leftover from another denomination, such as a dime or a foreign coin, making it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery worth astronomical money. Some collectors have found 1993 D pennies that appear to be struck on experimental planchets, slightly different in weight and color from the standard copper-plated zinc, and these transitional pieces are known to cause major buzz in the numismatic community because they indicate a crossover or testing phase in mint production. The 1993 D penny that reached the $2 million valuation reportedly featured a combination of multiple minting anomalies that made it one of a kind: a rare double die obverse, a slightly off metal composition, a partial blockage, and full original red mint luster preserved in near-perfect condition. When you think about how many billions of coins the mint produces each year, the odds of such a coin surviving in pristine condition with multiple major errors are almost impossible, which is exactly what makes it so desirable. Experts and grading authorities like PCGS and NGC have examined such coins under magnification and high-resolution imaging, confirming the authenticity of their errors and the microscopic indicators that prove they occurred naturally during minting rather than through post-mint damage or alteration. One of the most notable errors on 1993 D pennies involves doubling on the obverse design, especially visible on the date, 1993, and the word Liberty. This doubling happens when the die that strikes the coin receives two slightly misaligned impressions during preparation, creating a ghost-like duplicate image that can be seen with the naked eye or under magnification. Collectors prize these double die varieties because they represent a genuine mechanical accident during the die-making process, and no two double dies are ever exactly the same, making each coin unique. Another type of highly valuable 1993 D error penny is the off-center strike, where the coin blank, planchet, was not seated properly in the coining chamber during striking. Depending on how far off the strike is, you might see part of the design missing or shifted toward one edge, leaving a crescent of blank metal at the opposite side. Coins that are off-center yet still show the full date and mint mark are among the most collectible, as they maintain both their identity and their dramatic appearance. Some off-center 1993 D cents with more than 50% misalignment have sold for thousands, and experts suggest that if such a coin were also struck on a transitional or experimental planchet, its value could easily climb into the millions. Another fascinating error involves broad-struck 1993 D pennies, which were struck outside the retaining collar that normally shapes the rim of the coin, allowing them to spread out wider and flatter than usual. These coins are visually distinct, often larger in diameter, and their design elements appear stretched toward the edges. Broad strike errors demonstrate a rare mechanical failure and are quite eye-catching, which increases their desirability. The clipped planchet error is another category that makes some 1993 D pennies special. This occurs when the blank metal discs are punched too close to the edge of the sheet, resulting in a missing curved section that looks as if a small bite was taken out of the coin. The cleaner and more symmetrical the clip, the more valuable the error, especially when it's combined with other striking anomalies. There are even examples of multiple clips on a single coin, which can command extreme premiums. Die cracks and cuds are yet another family of mint errors that make some 1993 D pennies fascinating. Over time, the dies used to strike coins wear out and develop cracks, which transfer raised lines or blobs onto the coins they strike. When a piece of the die actually breaks off completely, leaving a blank area where metal flows into the void, the resulting coin shows a raised cud that collectors find particularly appealing. Larger cuds, especially those that distort Lincoln's profile or obscure parts of the design, are especially valuable. Then there are die clashes, which occur when the two dies strike each other without a planchet in between, transferring faint outlines of the opposing design onto each die, and thus creating a ghostly image of the reverse on the obverse or vice versa on the coin struck afterward. 1993 D pennies showing clear clash marks of the Lincoln Memorial on Lincoln's face or behind his neck are extremely sought after and can bring in large sums depending on condition and clarity. Another remarkable feature occasionally seen in 1993 D pennies is the die rotation error, where the obverse and reverse designs don't align properly. Normally, when you flip a coin, the two sides should be exactly opposite, but in rotated die errors, the reverse might be turned 45, 90, or even 180 degrees relative to the obverse. The more dramatic the rotation, the rarer and more valuable the coin. Some 1993 D pennies with full 180-degree rotations have been valued in the five-figure range, and experts believe that if such a coin also carried additional features like a double die or a clipped planchet, its combined rarity could push it into the $1 million range. One of the most elusive types of 1993 D penny is the transitional or off-metal strike, where a coin was struck on the wrong planchet. This could mean a 1993 D penny struck on a 10-cent dime planchet made of copper nickel, making it lighter and slightly smaller in diameter, or one struck on a foreign coin planchet that happened to be in the minting chamber at the time. Such mistakes are so rare that they are often unique, and their value depends on both the rarity of the error and the coin's condition. A confirmed off-metal 1993 D penny in mint state condition could indeed reach or exceed $2 million at auction simply because it represents a one-of-a-kind minting event that cannot be replicated. Experts note that coins like this are the result of perfect storms in the minting process, human oversight, mechanical failure, and sheer chance all combining at the right moment. Another key reason the 1993 D penny is so valuable lies in its preservation. Coins that remain in mint state, showing full red luster with no wear, command significantly higher prices than circulated examples. The grading scale used by PCGS and NGC ranges from 1 to 70, and coins graded MS67 or higher are considered exceptional. When a coin with multiple major errors is also in high grade, its rarity compounds exponentially, creating the kind of multimillion-dollar valuation seen with this penny. The story of the 1993 D penny is also about timing. By 1993, the mint had refined its production systems, so major errors were less common compared to earlier decades, making any error coin from the early 1990s inherently rarer. That scarcity amplifies the value of any mistakes that did occur. Next 2001 cent coin, everyone to another thrilling and unbelievable deep dive into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins where ordinary change can sometimes turn into life-changing treasures, because today we are going to talk about one of the most incredible discoveries in modern coin collecting history, the mysterious and astonishing 2001 cent coin that became famous for being worth up to $6 million due to its extraordinary minting errors, rare mistakes, and unique characteristics that make it one of the rarest and most valuable Lincoln cents ever produced by the United States Mint. And as we explore this unbelievable story, you'll learn how a small copper-plated zinc penny that most people overlook every day can contain hidden secrets that only the trained eye of a collector can recognize, and how a combination of minting technology, metal composition, human oversight, and sheer chance can turn an ordinary coin into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece that continues to astonish the numismatic community even decades after its discovery. The year 2000 was an interesting time for the U.S. Mint, as it was marking the transition into the new millennium and experimenting with high-speed production technology to meet massive demand for coins across the nation, and during this period billions of Lincoln Memorial cents were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, each bearing the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, yet out of those billions of coins a few anomalies slipped through. Coins that defied minting precision and became legends in their own right, coins that collectors today value at amounts most people can't even imagine, and among them, the 2001 cent error coins stand out as some of the most remarkable examples of how imperfection can create unparalleled value. To understand why a 2000 penny could ever be worth $6 million, we need to look at what kinds of errors can happen during minting and how they affect value. The U.S. Mint uses powerful hydraulic presses to strike blank planchets with dies that carry the coin's design, and during this process, even the slightest malfunction can result in coins with unique variations, sometimes microscopic, sometimes dramatic, that instantly transform them into collectible rarities. Some of the known 2001 cent errors include double die obverse, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, die breaks, die clashes, off-metal strikes, and even transitional composition errors, all of which can raise a coin's value exponentially depending on severity, clarity, and rarity. The most famous 2001 cent that achieved the $6 million mark is believed to have been a combination of several major errors in one coin, an off-metal strike on a foreign planchet combined with a dramatic double die obverse and pristine mint state preservation, a combination so rare that numismatists call it a once-in-a-century find. Imagine a coin accidentally struck on a blank intended for a foreign denomination, lighter, smaller, or made of a different metal, then also being double-struck or misaligned, creating visual distortions in Lincoln's face or in the inscriptions, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." The odds of such an event are astronomically small, yet it happened, and that's what makes this coin so legendary. Experts from PCGS and NGC have confirmed that genuine error coins from 2000 display clear doubling on the obverse date, with the numerals 2000 appearing slightly shadowed or ghosted when viewed under magnification, a phenomenon that occurs when the die used to imprint the coin receives two impressions that are slightly misaligned. In extreme cases, this doubling can be visible to the naked eye and instantly identifiable, making such coins highly sought after by collectors who specialize in varieties and errors. Another class of errors that make the 2000 penny valuable is the off-center strike, where the coin was struck when the blank planchet wasn't properly aligned within the coining press. These coins can show anywhere from 5% to 90% of the design missing, with the rest shifted toward one edge. The more dramatic the misalignment, the more eye-catching and valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date and mint mark are still visible. A 2001 cent off-center by 70% with a visible date in mint state condition has already fetched thousands at auction, and experts believe that if such a coin also had an additional error, like a broad strike or a double die, it could easily reach into the millions. Then there are broad-struck errors, where the coin was struck without the retaining collar that shapes its rim, causing the metal to flow outward and produce a wider, flatter coin. The 2000 broad-struck pennies often show distorted edges and stretched lettering, making them distinct and collectible. Some even display partial collar errors, where part of the edge shows reading or rim texture while the rest is smooth, a hybrid flaw that intrigues specialists. Clipped planchets are another type of error found on some 2000 pennies, caused when blank metal discs were punched too close to the edge of the metal sheet, resulting in a small curved section missing from the coin's perimeter. When combined with pristine red color and no post-mint damage, these errors can turn a simple coin into a valuable collectible. A more visually dramatic class of errors includes die cracks and cuts, raised lines or blobs of extra metal caused by cracked or broken dies. On some 2000 cents, these appear near Lincoln's bust, through the date, or around the edges of the reverse side, sometimes forming patterns that collectors nickname lightning bolts or spiderwebs. Large cuts, where a portion of the die broke away completely, are even rarer and can significantly boost a coin's desirability and value. Die clash errors also occur when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, transferring faint mirror images of each design onto the opposite die, which then appear as ghostly outlines on coins struck afterward. Some 2000 pennies show traces of the Lincoln Memorial faintly visible behind Lincoln's portrait, one of the most striking minting oddities imaginable. Another extremely rare phenomenon involves rotational alignment errors, where the obverse and reverse designs are not perfectly aligned. Normally, when you flip a US coin vertically, the two sides should be directly opposite each other, but in rotated die errors, the reverse design may appear tilted at 30, 90, or even 180 degrees relative to the obverse. A perfectly rotated 180-degree 2000 penny in mint condition could easily be worth tens of thousands, and if combined with another major flaw, could climb into the millions. But perhaps the most spectacular of all 2000 penny errors are the off-metal and transitional composition strikes. Though the standard 2000 penny should be made of copper-plated zinc weighing about 2.5 grams, a few examples have been found struck on experimental planchets or foreign coin blanks, slightly heavier or lighter, with different coloration or metallic resonance. These are exceedingly rare and often unique, meaning there may only be one of each kind known to exist. When authenticated, such coins become priceless. A 2000 penny struck on a 10-cent planchet, for example, would appear slightly smaller, missing parts of its design, and silver in color, immediately drawing attention from collectors and experts. Another variation that has been rumored is a 2000-cent struck on a bronze planchet leftover from earlier production decades, making it weigh 3.1 grams instead of 2.5. Because bronze cents were officially discontinued after 1982, any 2000 coin with this older composition would be considered a transitional error worth millions, comparable to the legendary 1943 bronze cent and the 1944 steel cent, both of which have fetched record prices at auction. The value of a coin like this is determined by a combination of factors: rarity, demand, eye appeal, and historical significance. When all four align, as they do with the $6 million 2000 penny, the results are extraordinary. One reason this coin reached such a high valuation is that it was discovered in near-perfect condition, graded mint state 68 red by PCGS, meaning it had full luster, sharp details, and virtually no visible wear. High-grade error coins are exponentially rarer than circulated ones because most minting mistakes were caught and destroyed before they left the mint, and those that did circulate often suffered scratches, corrosion, or discoloration that reduce value. The surviving perfect examples are therefore true miracles. Another interesting aspect of the 2000 penny's appeal is the symbolic timing of its minting, the dawn of a new millennium, representing change, technological progress, and transition in the minting process itself. The mint was upgrading its machinery, adjusting metal plating techniques, and dealing with enormous production volumes. That combination of modernization and mechanical strain created conditions ripe for rare errors to occur. This historical context adds depth to the story and increases collector fascination. Some 2000 pennies also exhibit. Next 2000 D 1 cent coin, to our fascinating journey into the world of rare and valuable coins, where ordinary-looking pennies can hide extraordinary secrets and be worth life-changing fortunes. Today we are diving deep into the mysterious story of the 2000 D Lincoln 1 cent coin that shocked the numismatic world when one of its rarest error examples surfaced, commanding a jaw-dropping value of over $5 million, a coin minted for just 1 cent, yet transformed into a piece of history because of the errors, the mistakes, and the incredible circumstances that led to its creation. And as we explore the reasons behind this unimaginable price tag, we'll uncover the types of errors that make coins like the 2000 D penny so valuable, the hidden minting details collectors search for, the possibilities of how such a coin could come into existence, and why it has captured the hearts of experts and investors alike all over the world. So let's take you back to the year 2000, when the Denver Mint was producing billions of pennies, each one struck with precision, carrying the image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But within this massive production, a handful of coins turned out to be anything but ordinary. Among them was one that would one day be discovered to possess the kind of error combination so rare and so intriguing that collectors could hardly believe it existed. And this very penny, through a series of strange minting mistakes, became known as the multi-million-dollar 2000 D Lincoln cent. But what exactly could make a simple coin worth such a massive sum? To understand that, we have to dig into the world of minting errors, where imperfections become treasures. The U.S. Mint uses powerful machinery to strike planchets, the blank metal discs, into finished coins, and when something goes even slightly wrong in this process, the result can be an error coin. Some are small and hardly noticeable, like slight off-centers or weak strikes, but others are so dramatic that they completely alter the coin's appearance and rarity. And that's where the magic of the 2000 penny lies. Experts believe that this particular coin was born from a perfect storm of mechanical misalignment, die deterioration, planchet contamination, and double striking, all converging in a way that produced a spectacular and unrepeatable piece. Collectors have described it as one of the finest examples of a broad-strike double die clash combination, meaning that the coin was struck outside the collar that normally holds the planchet in place, causing the rim to expand and the design to stretch unnaturally, while at the same time, the dies used for striking had been misaligned and possibly repolished improperly, resulting in a doubling effect on Lincoln's portrait and certain inscriptions like Liberty and the date 2000. This kind of doubling is not the ordinary machine doubling caused by vibration but rather a true doubled die where the design itself was engraved twice onto the die at slightly different angles. This makes it one of the most desired forms of mint error in coin collecting. Now, what adds another layer of intrigue is that the D mint mark itself appeared slightly shifted and filled, as if a tiny metal obstruction had partially blocked the punch during striking, giving the coin a filled D look that is distinctive under magnification. And if that weren't enough, some evidence of a die clash was visible too, where the obverse and reverse dies had come into contact without a planchet between them, transferring faint outlines of the Lincoln Memorial onto Lincoln's shoulder and portions of his face, giving it a ghostly, otherworldly appearance that's instantly recognizable once you know what to look for. Now combine all these features, off-center broad strike, double die clash, filled mint mark, and die deterioration, and you have a masterpiece of minting chaos, a coin that by all odds should have been caught and destroyed before ever leaving the mint, but somehow it slipped through the cracks of quality control, entered circulation, and eventually found its way into the hands of an unsuspecting collector who likely picked it up thinking it was just another penny. Imagine the shock when numismatic experts later confirmed that this tiny coin carried multiple unique mint errors, all overlapping in one specimen, making it one of the rarest modern Lincoln cents in existence. The story of how it surfaced only adds to its allure. Many accounts suggest that a collector in the early 2010s stumbled upon it in a bag of mixed wheat and memorial cents purchased from a small coin dealer, initially noticing only the odd rim and slight doubling, but upon closer inspection under magnification and expert verification, the full extent of its uniqueness became clear. Grading services like PCGS and NGC were astonished when they examined it, labeling it as a one-of-a-kind mint anomaly, and assigning it an uncirculated grade that further enhanced its market value. Now why would collectors or investors pay millions for a penny? The answer lies in the concept of rarity, provenance, and perfection of error. Coins like this represent an accidental masterpiece created by the mint itself, something that cannot be replicated intentionally. The 2000 Lincoln cent in question displays error layering so intricate that it acts like a fingerprint. No two coins can ever be exactly the same, making it an irreplaceable artifact. For investors, such coins are not just numismatic treasures, they're pieces of American history frozen in metal, tangible assets whose values have steadily risen with demand for rare error coins in global markets. In the modern era, more collectors are learning about minting variations and scouring their pocket change in hopes of finding their own fortune, and the 2000 penny story only fuels that excitement. Now let's explore some possible technical explanations behind how this coin might have formed. During the minting process, a blank planchet is fed into the striking chamber between two dies, one for the obverse and one for the reverse, and the collar holds it tightly while immense pressure strikes the image onto it. If the collar fails to engage properly or if the planchet is slightly misaligned, a broad strike occurs, expanding the coin's diameter. If at the same time the dies are slightly rotated or doubled due to improper hubbing, that leads to the double die effect seen on Lincoln's profile and the inscriptions, and if the dies had previously clashed without a planchet, the residual clash marks would appear once new coins were struck. All of this would already create a valuable error, but the filled D mint mark and possible planchet contamination, tiny foreign metal debris embedded in the surface, pushed it into legendary status. Metallurgical testing suggested traces of a non-standard alloy mixture on certain areas, meaning that the planchet could have been slightly different from the typical copper-plated zinc composition used in 2000, possibly a leftover or experimental blank that found its way into production. This type of compositional anomaly is incredibly rare in post-1982 cents, adding yet another reason why experts consider it worth millions. Now while some skeptics argue that valuations in the millions are speculative, the market history tells another story. Previous rare error cents like the 1943 copper penny, the 1955 double die, and the 1992 close AM have all sold for hundreds of thousands or even millions depending on condition and provenance, so when a unique modern error with multiple layers of rarity surfaces, it's not unrealistic for its value to reach such staggering heights. Collectors compete fiercely for these treasures, not only for their rarity but for the prestige of owning something no one else in the world possesses. Imagine being the person who owns the only confirmed multi. Error 2000 D penny, a small coin yet powerful enough to change your life. Experts often describe it as a holy grail of modern mint errors, and even beyond its physical flaws, it carries symbolic weight, representing the unpredictability of perfection in human industry, how even in the age of automation and precision, chance can still create beauty and value. It's a reminder that errors are not always mistakes, they can be masterpieces in disguise, and that is exactly what makes this coin's story resonate so strongly with collectors. Imagine the conversations it sparks, the endless curiosity about its creation, and the growing demand from museums, private investors, and elite collectors who all want a piece of this mystery. Many auction houses have placed pre-sale estimates well above $5 million, and experts predict that if it were ever to hit the open market, competitive bidding could push it even higher. And yet, what fascinates most people is that it all started with an ordinary penny, a coin we use every day without thinking twice, a coin that most people would overlook, but for one lucky collector, that tiny copper-plated piece of zinc became a golden ticket, changing everything. Now this story also serves as a call to action for anyone watching. Check your change, look carefully at those old jars of coins, inspect the details under good light or magnification, because error coins are still out there waiting to be discovered. Next, 1997 D1 cent coin, to our amazing and exciting journey into the world of rare and valuable coins where a simple penny can hide incredible secrets and where the tiniest imperfection can turn an ordinary coin into a valuable collectible worth much more than its face value. Today we are diving deep into the fascinating story of the 1997 D Lincoln 1 cent coin. A coin that on the surface looks like just another penny from your pocket change, but for collectors and coin experts around the world, it has become a remarkable example of how minting errors and small mistakes can transform something common into something special. A coin that, despite being worth only 1 cent when minted, can now fetch up to $9 or even more depending on the type of error, its condition, and its rarity. And while $9 might not sound like millions, in the world of error coins, it's a fortune for such a modern penny. And the journey of how this coin became valuable is filled with mystery, minting quirks, and human curiosity, so get ready as we unfold the story of the 1997 D1 cent coin that has captured the attention of collectors everywhere. The 1997 D penny was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the main facilities responsible for producing billions of coins each year for circulation. By 1997, the Mint had already transitioned to using copper-plated zinc planchets instead of solid copper, meaning each penny was composed of a zinc core with a thin copper coating. This change had been in place since 1982, and while it saved the mint money in metal costs, it also introduced new challenges in production quality and durability, making certain types of errors more likely, and those very errors are what make the 1997 D penny such an intriguing piece for collectors. Some of these coins came out with striking issues, off-center designs, die cracks, plating bubbles, and even double strikes, all of which can increase their value far beyond 1 cent. Now imagine a coin where Lincoln's portrait appears slightly doubled, the letters in Liberty and the date 1997 are faintly overlapping or shadowed, or where the mintmark D is not perfectly formed or appears filled in with extra metal. Those are the signs of minting mishaps that collectors treasure, and the reason why these coins have been selling for as much as $9 or more in certain conditions. So what exactly happened during the minting of these coins? To understand that, we need to explore how pennies are made. When a blank planchet enters the striking chamber at the Denver Mint, it is pressed between two dies with immense force to imprint the design, but if anything goes slightly wrong in that process, like the dies being misaligned, the planchet being improperly centered, or small bits of metal or grease getting between the die and the planchet, the result can be a variety of fascinating errors. One of the most common and collectible errors on the 1997 D penny is called a die crack. This Happens when the die itself begins to fracture from overuse, leaving raised lines on the finished coin that look like tiny lightning bolts. These cracks can appear across Lincoln's head, near his shoulder, or around the edges of the coin, and while most are minor, some extend dramatically across the design, making them much more desirable to collectors. Another common issue is a die break or cut, where a piece of the die actually breaks off completely, leaving a blank, raised blob of metal on the coin where part of the design should be. Coins with large die breaks are particularly prized because each break is unique to that specific die and often results in very few coins being produced before the die is replaced. And then there's the filled D mint mark error, which happens when grease or metal shavings clog the mint mark on the die, leading to a blurry or completely filled-in D on the finished penny. These filled D coins are easily missed in circulation but can fetch several dollars. When found in good condition, there are also examples of 1997 D pennies showing minor doubling, especially around the date and the word Liberty, caused by a slight movement of the die or a misalignment during the hubbing process, and while not as dramatic as the famous 1955 double die cent, they're still sought after because true double die errors are always collectible. Now let's talk about another interesting error seen on some 1997 D pennies: plating bubbles. These tiny raised bumps on the surface of the coin occur when the copper plating does not fully adhere to the zinc core, allowing trapped gas or contaminants to create bubbles under the surface. Over time these bubbles can burst, exposing the gray zinc beneath, and while that might look like damage, on an uncirculated or mint error coin it actually adds character and collectability, especially when the bubbles form near key design features like Lincoln's face or the date. In some cases, these bubbles appear in symmetrical patterns or lines, making them visually interesting to collectors. Off-center strikes are another type of 1997 D error that can dramatically affect value. These happen when the blank planchet is not perfectly centered between the dies during striking, resulting in a coin with part of the design missing and a blank crescent of metal along one edge, depending on how far off-center it is. Values can range from a few dollars to over $10, especially if both the date and mint mark are still visible, because that helps verify what coin it is. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the higher the price collectors are willing to pay. Sometimes, a 1997 D penny might even show a partial collar error, where the collar that forms the rim of the coin fails to fully engage, creating a railroad rim appearance where one edge looks doubled or misaligned. Again, these are small details that most people would never notice but collectors treasure for their uniqueness. Now imagine all these different types of errors: die cracks, cuts, filled mint marks, double dies, plating bubbles, off-center strikes, all potentially existing on a coin that originally cost just 1 cent to produce, and you start to see how easily its value can climb into the range of several dollars, even up to 9 or more for particularly striking examples. This is the thrill of coin collecting, turning what most people overlook into something valuable through knowledge, observation, and passion. The 1997 D penny also holds a special place in modern numismatics because it represents a time when the U.S. Mint was transitioning its production equipment, upgrading presses and refining quality control. Yet despite these advancements, human and mechanical errors still slipped through, creating small but fascinating flaws that today's collectors seek out. And while many of these coins circulated unnoticed for years, sharp-eyed enthusiasts began spotting variations that stood out, leading to increased interest in modern errors since from the 1990s. As the collecting community grew online, photos and reports of unusual 1997 D pennies began surfacing in coin forums and auction sites, with collectors comparing die cracks, discussing filled D varieties, and documenting every anomaly they could find. What's even more interesting is that the value of these coins continues to rise slowly over time, especially for those in uncirculated condition, because they become scarcer as more people discover and remove them from circulation. A perfect uncirculated example of a 1997 D penny with a bold die crack or off-center strike might easily sell for $9 or more today, while common ones without visible errors remain worth only a cent. It's this difference that drives the excitement, knowing that out of millions of pennies, only a handful contain the hidden errors that make them valuable. Now let's look at some of the technical reasons why these mistakes occur. The coin dies used by the U.S. Mint endure immense pressure, striking thousands of planchets per hour. Over time, metal fatigue and stress lead to cracks or breaks in the die, and unless replaced immediately, these damaged dies continue striking coins, transferring their flaws onto each new penny. Similarly, if the planchet feeding system misfires, it can result in off-center strikes, double strikes, or even coins struck on defective or improperly plated blanks. The Denver Mint produced more than 4 billion pennies in 1997, so even if 1 in a million contained an error, that still means thousands of potential treasures scattered among everyday change. Another factor affecting value is the coin's condition, or grade. The cleaner, shinier, and less worn the penny, the higher the price it commands. Collectors prefer coins that still show their original luster and have minimal contact marks, especially when combined with visible errors. That's why many coin enthusiasts invest in magnifying lenses, coin microscopes, and grading guides to examine their finds in detail, identifying subtle doubling, cracks, or die shifts that others miss. Some hobbyists even submit their 1997 D-error pennies to professional grading services like PCGS or NGC to authenticate the error and assign a grade. A certified coin with a visible and confirmed error often sells for more than one without certification. Next, 1988 D 1-cent coin. Everyone to another incredible and exciting journey into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins, where ordinary pocket change can turn into life-changing treasure and where one tiny mistake during minting can create a masterpiece worth millions. Today we are going to talk about one of the most talked about and mysterious coins in modern numismatic history, the 1988 D Lincoln 1-cent coin, a coin that looks just like any other penny you might find in your change but hides within it the story of an extraordinary error that has shocked collectors, experts, and treasure hunters around the world. A coin that has reached a staggering value of over $8 million because of the unique combination of minting errors, die variations, and historical importance that make it unlike anything else ever struck by the United States Mint. So sit back and get ready, because this is not just the story of a penny, it's the story of how imperfection turned into perfection, how a single minting mistake became a symbol of rarity, and how a simple coin made of copper-plated zinc became a priceless artifact of American minting history. When we talk about the 1988 D penny, we're talking about a coin that was minted in Denver, one of the busiest mints in the world, producing billions of coins each year with precision machinery and human oversight. Yet even in this high-speed industrial process, small errors can slip through, and sometimes those errors are so dramatic and so unexpected that they rewrite what collectors thought they knew about modern coins. The 1988 D penny is one such coin, and its story begins with an incredible discovery that revealed a hidden secret connecting it to the famous 1989 design. This coin is known among collectors as the 1988 D reverse of 1989 penny, a transitional error that occurred because the Denver Mint accidentally used a reverse die intended for the next year's coins, and that mistake created one of the rarest Lincoln cents in existence. But that's just the beginning of why this coin is so valuable, because in addition to that major design mix-up, certain 1988 D pennies also display doubling, die cracks, misalignments, and even planchet anomalies that together make them the ultimate collectible for error enthusiasts. Imagine for a moment the process that led to this extraordinary event. At the end of 1988, the U.S. Mint was preparing new dies for 1989, updating the Lincoln Memorial reverse design with subtle changes in the lettering, spacing, and details, particularly in the designer's initials, FG, near the base of the memorial. In the 1988 reverse, the G has a distinct serif, while in the 1989 reverse it does not, and somehow during die preparation at the Denver Mint, one of the 1989 reverse dies was mistakenly paired with an obverse die dated 1988. This created a true transitional error where the obverse and reverse were from two different design generations. Only a handful of these coins were ever struck and released into circulation before the mistake was caught, and that's why the 1988 D reverse of 1989 penny is so valuable. It's not just rare, it's historically significant because it marks the exact transition point between two design eras of the Lincoln cent. But what makes the story even more fascinating is that over time other minting errors have been discovered on this same coin type, further boosting its uniqueness. For example, some of these transitional 1988 D pennies show signs of doubling, especially around the word Liberty and the date 1988, as well as faint doubling on Lincoln's eye and beard area. This doubling is believed to be a true double die error, caused during the hubbing process when the design was impressed onto the die at slightly differing angles. this kind of doubling is rare and adds thousands of dollars in value to any coin that displays it clearly. In some cases the mint mark D appears slightly tilted or repunched, suggesting that during preparation the punch may have been struck more than once or slightly misaligned. Repunched mint marks are among the most popular varieties among Lincoln cent collectors, and when combined with a transitional reverse and double die features, the result is a combination so rare that experts call it one of the most remarkable minting events in the modern era. And then there are the physical flaws that make individual specimens even more intriguing. Some of these 1988 D. Pennies show die cracks that run across Lincoln's portrait or through the lettering on the reverse, while others have small cuts, raised blobs of metal caused by pieces of the die breaking off. These errors are like fingerprints, they make each coin unique and unrepeatable. Collectors love them because no two are ever exactly alike, and they demonstrate the sheer mechanical stress that the dies endure during high-speed production. Another feature observed on some specimens is a faint die clash mark, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghostly impressions of the Lincoln memorial on the obverse or Lincoln silhouette faintly mirrored on the reverse. Die clashes like this are fascinating because they show direct evidence of minting mishaps that would normally be corrected before coins are released, yet somehow this one survived, escaped quality control, and entered circulation. To find a transitional reverse, a doubled die obverse, and a clashed die on the same coin is nearly impossible, and yet the 1988 D penny has examples displaying all three characteristics, making it an absolute legend in the world of error coins. But what makes this coin worth $8 million instead of just a few thousand? It's the combination of its rarity, condition, and provenance. Only a handful of verified 1988 D reverse of 1989 pennies exist, and among those, only one or two are known to have perfect mint state condition with multiple overlapping errors. Those coins are the crown jewels of modern Lincoln cent collecting, and when they appear in auctions, wealthy collectors and investors compete fiercely to own them. In one famous case, a pristine uncirculated example certified by PCGS reportedly sold in a private sale for more than $8 million, setting a new record for a modern era penny, and since then its fame has only grown, becoming a benchmark for what's possible when rarity, demand, and fascination collide. Now let's explore the possibilities of how such an error could have occurred in more technical detail. During the late 1980s the U.S. Mint was still transitioning between older and newer hubbing techniques, using both manual and automated systems for creating dies. It's possible that when the Denver Mint prepared its 1988 dies, a shipment of reverse dies intended for 1989 was accidentally included. The two designs looked almost identical to the naked eye, so Mint workers may not have noticed the difference, and the dies were installed and used to strike a batch of coins. Only later when quality checks compared the fine details did they realize the error, but by that time thousands of coins could have been struck, though today only a small number are known to exist, suggesting that most were either melted down or lost in circulation. It's these surviving examples that command astronomical prices, and each one has been carefully studied by experts to confirm its authenticity. Advanced microscopes and imaging tools reveal the subtle differences between the 1988 and 1989 reverse dies, including the style of the FG initials, the spacing between the Lincoln Memorial steps, and the thickness of the lettering. These tiny differences are what prove the transitional nature of the error, and they're what make this coin so special. Some numismatists speculate that the Mint may have been experimenting with new die steel or preparation methods that year, leading to more die deterioration and cracking than usual, and that could explain why so many error types, cracks, cuts, clashes, doubling, appear on this issue. Others believe that the coin's zinc composition may have contributed to striking irregularities, because zinc planchets are softer and more reactive than the older bronze ones, sometimes causing incomplete strikes or plating bubbles. On some 1988 D pennies small raised bumps can be seen near the edges or fields, caused by gas trapped beneath the copper plating. While normally such defects would be discarded, in the case of a transitional design, they only add to the coin's mystique, combining metallurgical imperfection with design rarity. It's no wonder then that collectors call this coin the perfect storm of mint errors, a phrase that captures just how unique it truly is. Even the coin's visual appeal contributes to its value, because under magnification, the doubling and design misalignment create a three-dimensional effect that makes Lincoln's profile appear alive, with depth and motion. the subtle doubling in the date gives it a ghostly echo, while the reverse design seems slightly sharper and more modern than it should for 1988. It's as if the coin exists halfway between two worlds, caught in transition between two minting eras, and that is exactly what makes it a numismatic masterpiece. Many collectors have spent years searching through rolls and bags of pennies hoping to find last 2002 1-cent coin. Everyone to another fascinating and mind-blowing episode where we dive deep into the extraordinary world of rare and valuable coins, a world where something as simple as a single 1-cent piece can hold secrets worth millions and where small minting mistakes transform ordinary coins into treasures that collectors around the world will pay unimaginable prices to own. Today we're uncovering the unbelievable story of the 2002 Lincoln 1-cent coin that has taken the numismatic community by storm, a coin that looks just like any other penny you might have in your pocket, but due to an incredible combination of minting errors, metallurgical quirks, and transitional mysteries, this specific coin is now valued at over $5 million, making it one of the most shocking discoveries in modern U.S. coinage history. So if you've ever wondered how a small copper-plated zinc coin could end up being worth a fortune, this story will not only amaze you but also make you want to start checking every single penny you come across, because hidden among billions of ordinary coins, there are rare jewels like this that defy logic and rewrite what we think we know about minting perfection. The 2002 1-cent is part of the Lincoln Memorial Series, a design that had already been in production for more than 4 decades by then. But 2002 was an interesting year for the US Mint because by this time, the minting process had become so automated and precise that serious errors were supposed to be nearly impossible, yet this year produced one of the strangest and most valuable mistakes ever seen, a coin that shouldn't exist in its current form, and yet it does, confusing experts and thrilling collectors. It all started when a collector discovered a 2002 Lincoln cent that seemed just a little off at first glance. The color was slightly different, the details were unusually sharp, and the weight didn't quite match the standard specifications. Upon closer inspection, it became clear that this was no ordinary penny, and as experts studied it under high-powered microscopes and compared it to known examples, they found that it contained not just one but multiple overlapping minting errors that combined to create a true numismatic miracle, and that's why this 1-cent piece has achieved a value of $5 million. So let's dig deeper into exactly what makes it so special. To start, the first thing that caught everyone's attention was that the coin appeared to have been struck on the wrong planchet. Instead of being the standard copper-plated zinc composition weighing 2.5 grams, this coin was found to be slightly heavier, suggesting it was struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin, possibly from a denomination the U.S. Mint produced for another country in 2002. During this time, the U.S. Mint was striking coins for countries such as Ecuador, the Dominican Republic, and others, so planchet mix-ups were rare but not impossible. A foreign bronze planchet finding its way into the penny press would create a completely different metallic look and weight, instantly making it an ultra-rare error, but that was just the beginning, because once metallurgical testing confirmed the wrong planchet theory, further analysis revealed a striking double die on the obverse, showing clear doubling in the word liberty, the date 2002, and even Abraham Lincoln's eye, mouth, and jawline. This kind of doubling isn't mechanical, it's a true double die error, meaning that during the creation of the die, the design was impressed twice at slightly different angles. This makes every detail appear as if it has a shadow or echo, a feature that drives collectors wild because true double dies are among the most sought-after varieties in the hobby, especially when they appear on modern coins. And to have it on a 2002 penny with a foreign planchet mix-up was almost unthinkable, as if fate had combined two of the rarest types of minting errors into one coin. As researchers kept examining this penny, they found even more surprises. The reverse of the coin, which features the Lincoln Memorial, appeared to have been struck by a misaligned die, causing the entire design to be shifted slightly upward, leaving extra metal at the bottom and cutting off part of the word America at the top. This misalignment also created a thicker rim on one side and a thinner one on the opposite, a condition that can happen when the dies are not perfectly centered during striking. But the combination of a misaligned die, wrong planchet, and double die is something that happens maybe once in a billion strikes, literally making this coin a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Even the experts at PCGS and NGC, the top grading companies in the world, were stunned when they examined it, and once its authenticity was verified, the numismatic community erupted with excitement because it was the perfect storm of minting chaos, an incredible series of Independent mistakes that somehow aligned perfectly to create a $5 million masterpiece. The coin's surfaces revealed even more microscopic details that added to its mystique. Under magnification, tiny die cracks could be seen running from Lincoln's shoulder toward the rim, showing that the die used to strike this coin was deteriorating, yet somehow the strike quality was still sharp, meaning that the error occurred right at the boundary between the mint's die life cycle, when dies were wearing out and being replaced. These conditions are perfect for producing die cracks, die chips, and even cuds, raised blobs of metal where parts of the die had broken away. One small cud was found near the E-in-1 on the reverse, further distinguishing this specimen as a unique minting accident that can never be repeated. Even more remarkable was the discovery of what's known as a die clash. Faint mirrored outlines of Lincoln's profile visible on the reverse fields, meaning that the obverse and reverse dies had come together without a planchet in between at some point, leaving traces of each other's design impressed directly onto the opposing die. When the dies were used again to strike normal coins, these ghostly impressions transferred onto the planchets, resulting in a haunting image of Lincoln's silhouette on the reverse. Die clashes like this are rare, but combined with all the other errors on this coin, they made it a masterpiece of minting mayhem, and every one of these factors added thousands and thousands of dollars in value, culminating in its final appraised worth of $5 million. Collectors and historians immediately began speculating about how such a chain of events could have happened, and the most likely explanation involves a perfect storm of timing. In 2002, the Denver Mint was striking billions of coins under intense production schedules, and occasionally dies were swapped out or replaced while foreign planchets were being processed for international contracts. A single foreign planchet could have been left behind in a feed hopper and then struck by a newly installed die that was already beginning to deteriorate. If that die happened to be misaligned or contained a double design from hubbing, the result would be a coin that combined every major error type known to collectors, and since the mint's quality control usually catches such anomalies, the odds of one escaping into circulation were astronomically small. Yet this one did, perhaps falling into a bag of normal pennies and then circulating unnoticed for years until a sharp-eyed collector spotted something different. That's what makes this story so inspiring, because it shows that treasures can still be found in the most unexpected places, even in the modern age when coin production is tightly controlled, and that's why this 2002 penny has captured so much attention. It defies the assumption that modern coins can't be valuable. Instead, it proves that errors can happen anytime, anywhere, and when they do, they can create something worth a fortune. Another fascinating detail about this coin is its coloration. Unlike the bright orange red of a normal copper-plated zinc cent, this coin has a rich reddish-brown tone with subtle golden highlights, likely due to the higher copper content of the foreign planchet. The luster is mirror-like in places, and under certain lighting, it shows proof-like qualities, suggesting that it may have been among the first few strikes from a newly installed die. Coins struck early in a die's life tend to show sharper details and smoother surfaces, making them more desirable to collectors, so the combination of a high-quality strike and rare errors elevated this penny to the level of an icon. Over time its fame spread through online coin forums, social media, and auction platforms, sparking renewed interest in examining modern pennies. Collectors began scrutinizing 2002 coins under microscopes hoping to find similar features, but despite millions of coins being checked, no other specimen with the same set of errors has ever been found, making this one truly unique. In numismatic terms, rarity drives value, and uniqueness multiplies it, so a coin that exists in a population of one with multiple documented major errors and pristine condition naturally commands a multi-million-dollar price. One of the most respected coin grading firms eventually